Welcome back to the Old History Project YouTube channel. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please see the description below for links to my Facebook page and podcast. Credits for most of the pictures in this video go to Everett Posey, who is gracious enough to let me use his content for the making of this video. Secondly, please consider becoming a member of the East Tennessee Historical Society. For more information on that, please visit their website to learn how you can become a member today. Throughout the 1850s, the East Tennessee and Georgia Railroad creeped its way up through East Tennessee. By 1855, it reached Knoxville, although some areas were considered impossible to reach by rail due to the rugged nature of the terrain. And as time went on, more and more railroads began to spring up around the nation. Such railroads were the Morristown and Cumberland Gap and Ohio Railroad, which operated between Morristown, Tennessee, went through Granger County and into Kentucky. And then you had the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad. The shortline railroad basically was a very short railroad that operated a short distance. Some short lines came to be known more than others, such as the Tennessee Railroad. Tennessee Railroad operated between 1880 and operated all the way up until 2004. It's one of the last short-line railroads in this part of Tennessee. It ain't quite the last one around, but its story needs to be told. This seemingly innocent 41-mile stretch of railroad is actually pretty significant in terms of railroad history and coal mining history. The line can trace its roots plumb back to the 1880s, when the Paint Rock Coal and Coke Company began construction of a short-line branch railroad from the Oneida Depot on what was then the Cincinnati Southern Railroad, now Norfolk Southern, to Morning Glory, near where Stanley Creek empties into Paint Rock Creek. It began after large deposits of coal was found along the headwaters of Paint Rock Creek. By 1902, the Paint Rock Coal and Coke Company was sold off to some Yankee. However, the New River Lumber Co. had opened up a mill in Norma to capitalize on the virgin and old-growth timber reserves in the New River Valley. Then it was called the Burned Lands. And they bought the Paint Rock Coal and Coke Company Railroad and expanded it from Stanley Junction to where Cherry Fork Road meets Tunnel Hill Road. And by 1904, the Tennessee Railway would officially become its name. 1912 would come along, and the rail line had reached Fork Mountain near Anderson-Morgan County line, where the Devonia Depot would serve as the end of the main line. Now the main line would come to have several small branch lines, which we'll go into later, but they were built to accommodate both logging and mining operations. By the time the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression came around, logging had overstayed its welcome in the Appalachian Mountains and was on its way out of our area. The Tennessee Railroad and all three of its steam engines still had lots of coal hauls to do in the Cumberland Mountains. Scott, Campbell, Anderson, and Morgan counties had tons of coal to give. By the time the 1950s rolled into town, the Tennessee Railway would get its first diesel engine, and by 1963 the old steam engines had been set out to pasture. In 1973, the TNRR was purchased by the Southern Railway, and by the late 1980s, the 100-year-old rail line was still hauling 125 cars from a washer up on Fork Mountain to Oneida. It did this until coal formally left this region of the Cumberland Mountains, and when Norfolk Southern formally abandoned the line in 2004. The railway would have several small branch lines that went off the main lines, went to all the various logging camps and all the various mining outposts on top of the mountain. They went in all sorts of various directions, but then it'd be impossible to cover them all. But one of the funniest ones is it stopped at a town called Pee Wee. This video is credited to YouTube user SR6900. I could find no way to contact him. In 2006, the line was purchased by the National Coal Company, who used the line sparingly, as it proved to be pretty impractical to use trains for the amount of coal they were bringing in. In 2008, an excursion company by the name of the New River Scenic Railroad began conducting train rides along the historic coal route. But it, along with National Coal, would be plagued by the Great Recession, as it's been called, and in 2010, the railroad would be sold to R.J. Corman, who instantly put the brakes on the operation, as they did not wish for trains to run on that line any longer. And coal would never really come back to this region of the Cumberland Mountains, as it has a high sulfur content and was deemed undesirable. Since then, the old depot down at Devonia had been burned due to an act of arson, and the old green train that sits way up high on Fork Mountain has been vandalized beyond recognition, and is now just a heap of scrap. To discuss more modern happenings, within the last few years, Save the Tennessee Railway, as they've come to be known as, has undertaken the Texas-sized task to revive the old coal road by attempting to ask R.J. Corman and the Surface Transportation Board to reverse the decision on abandonment with the Tennessee Railway, as it is believed by many people, myself included, that a reversal of this decision would be extremely beneficial to the rural communities between Oneida and Fork Mountain, and the deep communities and deep lost villages of Morgan, Anderson, Campbell, and Scott counties, as it may lead to industrial expansion, tourism, and jobs to an economy that was destroyed when coal left. Now, while the folks that Save the Tennessee Railway can't publicly comment on what's going on, they do ask their supporters of this endeavor to send a letter to the STB and R.J. Corman expressing their displeasure in the abandonment decision. You are highly encouraged to get into contact with the representatives for those respective counties, as well as the officials elected at the state level, and you're asked to give them your thoughts on why you believe they should support and sponsor the issue, and tell them why you think one of the last shortline railroads in this part of Tennessee should be saved. So go show Save the Tennessee Railway your support and see how you can give them a hand. This video here was shot by a feller by the name of Everett Posey. Mr. Posey was gracious enough to let me use his content for the making of this video. So Mr. Posey has taken drone footage of just about all sections of the former Tennessee Railway, and it has given us a new insight as to just what it's going to take to get the railroad back into operation. However, if you'd like to see his full video, which is a 30-minute documentary on the subject, please go visit his channel, which I will link in the description below. And so, to wrap this video up, if you've made it this far, please consider a donation to your favorite internet historian via PayPal now. I've created a PayPal for the Old History Project, as some of you have expressed this concern with using Patreon, which I understand and had not thought about. So it will be in the description also. Not required, it's just there just in case. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time.